Hey y'all, it's Heel Heat time.
Hi everybody and welcome to Heel Heat. My name is George Coles and this is another edition of It Came From the Network. Now if you're not familiar with It Came From the Network, basically it's where we review all the weird, wild, campy, and just downright bad stuff that you could find on the WWE Network. The topic of this It Came From the Network? Saturday night's main event, episode number 28. Now, why such a random one? This was an episode that actually, when thinking back of the history of Saturday night's main event, was one that stuck out in my brain and was one that I wanted to go back and rewatch, having fond memories of it as a younger guy. Now, if we look at it, it's a time capsule of the era that they were in at the time, and some of just the incredible talent on this show. It's astounding how they had all of that in one place. We'll go right into the show. We're going to start off with Demolition. Now, this is all three members of Demolition, Axe, Smash, and Crush, versus the Legion of Doom, Hawk and Animal, and the Ultimate Warrior. Starts off with a really great match. I believe, if I remember properly, this was the first time that Demolition and the Road Warriors were in the same ring together in an actual match. They recruited the Ultimate Warrior to even up the sides. A good, straightforward, brawling style match. If you're a fan of any of these six guys, you know none of them is going to be doing making this look like a Malenko Guerrero match, but for what it was highly entertaining, highly fun, a great way to start off the show. Lots of energy, lots of, just rough style. The Warrior and the Legion of Doom pick up the win. Just a great way to open the show. Great ball of energy. Get the crowd into it. Get them hyped. Get them ready to go. Next up, we have the Macho King, Randy Savage, which, again, this is why some of it falls into this category, because it's the weird and the campy, versus Dusty Rhodes in full polka dot regalia. This match was more about what was happening outside of the ring. Dusty and Savage telling a good story inside. We have Dustin Rhodes, who is Dusty's son, who would later go on to become Goldust, sitting front row ringside to cheer on his father, which brings out at the time two guys that Dusty was feuding with in Virgil and Ted DiBiase. They had recently taken Dusty's valet, Sapphire, from him, and now they're coming down and messing with his son gets to the point where DiBiase pushes his son down in the seat so he can't cheer for his father. Dustin hits DiBiase. They start fighting to the outside, which leads to Dusty going out to protect his son, which leads to Dusty getting counted out. Just, the overall, another step in the development of the Dusty Rhodes, Ted DiBiase feud, which was a great feud at the time, and still is one of the great feuds of Ted DiBiase's career, and probably the best feud of Dusty Rhodes' run in WWF. Just a good match, good psychology to it, good involvement on the outside with leading us to the match we want to see, which is DiBiase and Dusty Rhodes. Next up, we have Hulk Hogan and Tugboat, who some of you might remember as Typhoon. Also, most of you will remember him for his most infamous moment as the Shockmaster. And they're going up against Rhythm and Blues, which is Honky Tonk Man, and a black-haired version of Greg the Hammer Valentine to fit in with the whole 50s rocker gimmick style. The preface to this match is Rhythm and Blues is managed by Jimmy Hart, who also manages Dino Bravo and Earthquake at the time. Dino Bravo and Earthquake had attacked Hulk Hogan, put him out with rib injuries for a while. Tugboat had been fighting them as a, Hulk Hogan friend. Hogan's coming back. Him and Tugboat get to Rhythm and Blues. A decent match. We see the end come when Dino Bravo, or actually Rhythm and Blues, get disqualified. Dino Bravo and Earthquake come out to attack. They get fended off basically by Hogan and Tugboat for a bit, but then they finally get the upper hand, do more damage to Hogan's already damaged ribs by several Earthquake splashes. Just, again, like I said, the reason that some of this stuff is on here is just weird and campy. Look at what we have here. We have two Elvis impersonators, a guy named Earthquake and a guy named Tugboat who's wearing a red and white shirt, striped. It doesn't get more fun and campy than that. Just a cool little match, kind of your basic filler Hulk Hogan match to get Hogan on TV and get the ratings up. Just a cool thing all the way around, in my opinion. Again, setting the steps for another feud in the match, the Hogan-Earthquake feud, which was great as well. Next up, we have for the Intercontinental title, Haku versus the Texas Tornado, Kerry Von Erich. Kerry had just recently won the title from another one of Bobby Heenan's men in Mr. Perfect. He's defending against Bobby Heenan's, I guess you would say, his enforcer, Haku. I thought this was actually probably the best match of the night. I enjoyed it. I thought it was going to be a little bit of a mess, knowing what I know now of Kerry Von Erich and how badly he was on drugs at the time. However, he was very capable in the ring versus Haku. Very good match with Tornado coming out with the win with a discus clothesline at the end. Just a good match on a good show. Then we get to see a little bit of the goofiness with the Texas Tornado, who I thought they were kind of almost, when they brought him in and what they were doing with the Texas Tornado, were kind of mirroring what they did with the Ultimate Warrior in his style. But of course, Tornado, Kerry Von Erich's a much better wrestler than Ultimate Warrior ever was. Not a better draw, but a better wrestler. At least in the WWF. In Dallas, Kerry Von Erich was a huge draw. But anyway, I digress. Coming off of that, we probably have the weirdest match of the night. Coco Beware versus Sergeant Slaughter, the Iraqi sympathizer with General Adnan in his corner. Anything that's kind of, looking back at it now, anything with Sergeant Slaughter as the Iraqi sympathizer is kind of weird and kind of odd to watch, and kind of just a blip on the radar screen of just something that they decided. A lot of people think they went well over the line in this, using real life drama, which was the oncoming Gulf War at this time. At this time, the Gulf War hadn't started yet, but it was about to. And you got Slaughter in there, coming back to the company after so many years, being the face of G.I. Joe, being Mr. USA, playing the Marine March on the way to the ring. Got Coco Beware, who everybody knows. He's a lovable goof. A lot of fans loved him. Great wrestling talent. They put on a really solid match against each other. Slaughter picks up the win because we're in the build to where Slaughter eventually wins the world title from the Ultimate Warrior. At the end, we get another piece of weirdness and just overall just odd was the only way I could explain this. Sergeant Slaughter is in the ring waving the Iraqi flag with General Adnan, who, here's some random trivia for you. General Adnan, aka Sheikh Adnan LKC, is legitimately from Iraq and legitimately went to high school with Saddam Hussein, brought wrestling to Iraq in the 70s, had to leave Iraq once Saddam became in power because he felt that Saddam was threatened by his popularity. Just a little bit of fun to put in there. he obviously left Iraq and wasn't a supporter of the Saddam regime, as we can follow by that. However, he played up his role, and he played up a great role as General Adnan, and even before that, in the territorial days, Sheikh Adnan al-Kaisi was a great manager. Wonderful manager and wonderful wrestler in his time. But I digress. That's just a little sidestep to give you backstory a bit. We see Sergeant Slaughter in the ring waving the Iraqi flag, which is drawing mega heat at the time. And the weird thing is we have Nikolai Volkov coming off of years being the hated Russian heel. Recently, before this, we've seen the fall of the USSR. Volkov becomes more of Russian/American. He's all for America and Russia and working together. He comes out, and you see Nikolai Volkov, who for years was the Russian communist heel, waving the American flag, and Sergeant Slaughter, the American supporter for most of his career, in the ring, waving the Iraqi flag. It's just and it's set up, for an eventual flag match, but just a weird little moment in time where you got the guy that's been the heel, hating America for so long, defending America, and the guy that's defended America for so long as a face, being the heel, defending Iraq. Like I said, just a weird little moment in the time capsule. Finally, to end out the show, we have the Ultimate Warrior and Randy Savage doing interviews about a upcoming world title match that the two are going to have against each other. Two great little promos, two of the guys. Savage is always a great promo. Warrior was a great promo for a different reason, because you never knew what was going to come out of his mouth. And last but not least, the underlying thread of the whole thing, this was an October show, I believe it aired on October 23rd is what it said. Through the night they were doing an Oktoberfest that looked like a German festival somewhere. Mean Gene Okerlund was there, Lord Alfred Hayes was there getting drunk. Literally, during the show, they showed him getting more and more drunk, drinking beer. You had the Bushwhackers were there, the Hart Foundation was there, Hacksaw Jim Duggan. Basically, a lot of the guys that weren't on the show, they did little skits there with a wiener stuffing competition between the Hart Foundation and the Orient Express with Mr. Fuji, which, going back through all these Saturday Night Main Events, Mr. Fuji in all these skits was amazing. He was a great talent. Doesn't get quite the respect he deserves, but he was awesome in all these skits. Just fun little throwaway skits that, watching WWE today and their attempts at comedy, is cringeworthy. Watching it then, even now, watching a show that's over 20 years old, I quite enjoyed these. I thought they were funny, they were fun, they were little things that were in character with what the wrestlers would do. It ends up with the faces and heels getting in a big food fight at the end of the show. Just a fun little way to tie in the theme of Oktoberfest, which we heard all through the night. People mention Oktoberfest, Ultimate Warrior calling it a blitzkrieg, obviously the lightning war of the Germans. Just a fun way to tie it in and keep the show fun and interesting. This was comedy that added to the show instead of taking it away. But coming off of that, we're going to go into our ratings. Now, if you've seen our shows before, we have a 1 to 5 scale. 1 being the worst, 5 being the best. 1's a gobbledygooker, 2's a renegade, 3 is a hurricane, Helms, 4 is a gold dust, 5 is a king. I thoroughly enjoyed the show. I would say it's a 4, a gold dust. The way that Saturday Night Main Events played out, they put the main matches first because it was coming on at 11 o'clock at night. And then by the end of the night, a lot of people had fell asleep. So they were lesser matches towards the end of the card. However, this card ended up being a stacked card. You had Demolition versus the Road Warriors and Ultimate Warrior, Randy Savage versus Dusty Rhodes, Hulk Hogan and Tugboat versus Rhythm and Blues, Haku versus Texas Tornado, Coco Beware versus Sergeant Slaughter. Just a stacked card. half the card's already in the WWE Hall of Fame. The other half probably deserves to be. The only guys that are not in there as of yet are Savage, who probably is the most deserving person that isn't in there. Demolition, who definitely deserve it. Tugboat, Dino Bravo, and Earthquake. Good arguments could be made for all three of those. Haku, again, should be in the Hall of Fame. And I believe that's it. Everybody else on the show was a WWE Hall of Famer. Virgil, of course, and Dustin Rhodes. I think Dustin, as Gold Dust, it's only a matter of time. But I digress. Overall, a great show, just a fun little time capsule of what the WWE was doing at that time. Again, a fun show. Even holds up to this day where you can go back and watch it and you will enjoy it. So basically that's what it is. I give it a 4, give it a Gold Dust. Basically that's all I have to say about this. My name is George Coles, and this has been another episode of It Came From the Network.